In the middle of the Libyan desert, there is a plane that has been sitting there for over 80 years. It is not a mirage nor a relic of a modern war. It is a World War II bomber that vanished on its first and only mission, leaving behind a mystery that has puzzled and fascinated generations. This is the story of Lady Be Good and her crew, a story of courage, tragedy, and survival, a story of a lost and found saga that spans decades and continents. Lady Be Good was a B-24D Liberator bomber that belonged to the 376th Bombardment Group of the United States Army Air Forces. The group was based in Soluch, Libya, and was part of the 12th Air Force, which was tasked with bombing strategic targets in the Mediterranean and North Africa. The group was nicknamed the Liberandos after their aircraft type and their motto, "Liberate or Die." On April 4, 1943, the Liberandos were assigned to bomb the harbor of Naples, Italy, a major Axis port and supply base. The mission was considered to be one of the most dangerous and difficult ones, as it involved flying over enemy territory for hundreds of miles, facing heavy anti-aircraft fire and fighter attacks, and navigating through unpredictable weather conditions. The mission was also the first combat sortie for Lady Be Good, which had arrived in Soluch only a few days earlier. The plane was piloted by First Lord William J. Hatton, a 26-year-old from New York, and had a crew of 9 men, all in their early 20s. They were Robert F. Toner, D.P. Hayes, John S. Waravka, Harold J. Ripslinger, Robert E. Lamotte, Guy E. Shelley, Vernon L. Moore, Samuel E. Adams. The crew had trained together for several months in the United States and had become close friends. They had named their plane Lady Be Good after a popular song by George and Ira Gershwin, and had painted the name on the nose of the plane along with a 4-leaf clover for good luck. The mission was scheduled to take off at 1:30 p.m., but due to sandstorms and poor visibility, it was delayed until 2:50 p.m. Lady Be Good was one of the last planes to take off and never caught up with the formation of 24 other B-24s. The plane flew alone to the target, following the radio signals from the lead plane. The crew encountered no enemy resistance and dropped their bombs on the harbor at 7:50 p.m. They then turned back to Soluch, expecting to arrive around 10:30 p.m. But on the way back, something went terribly wrong. The plane's automatic direction finder, a device that helped the navigator locate the base, malfunctioned and gave false readings. The crew did not realize that they had flown past their base and continued to fly south into the desert, thinking that they were still over the Mediterranean Sea. They tried to contact the base, but received no reply. They also tried to contact other planes, but heard only static. They were lost and running out of fuel. At 11 p.m., Hatton decided to order the crew to bail out, hoping that they would land near an oasis or a friendly outpost. He gave the command, "Prepare to bail out on the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bail out." One by one, the crew jumped out of the plane into the dark and unknown. Hatton was the last to leave, setting the plane on autopilot and hoping that it would crash and burn so that it could be seen by rescuers. But the plane did not crash. It glided for another 16 miles until it gently landed on a sand dune with its engines still running. It came to a stop, and then after a few minutes the engines sputtered and died. The plane was intact and undamaged except for a bent propeller and a broken landing gear. It was a miracle landing, but no one was there to witness it. The crew, meanwhile, had landed safely with their parachutes and survival kits. They were scattered over a wide area, but managed to regroup, except for Waravka, who had landed too far away and could not be found. The crew had a radio, a compass, a map, a Bible, a diary, some chocolate bars, some cigarettes, and some water. They also had a flare gun, which they fired, hoping to attract attention. But no one saw or heard them. They were alone, in the middle of the desert, with no idea where they were or how to get back. They decided to walk north following their compass, thinking that they were heading towards the coast. They walked all night and then rested during the day to avoid the scorching heat. They rationed their water and food, but soon ran out of both. They became dehydrated, exhausted, and delirious. They hallucinated about seeing water, trees, and people. They prayed for help and wrote messages in their diary and Bible, hoping that someone would find them. They also left behind some of their belongings, such as their parachutes, their shoes, and their dog tags to mark their trail. But help never came. They walked for 8 days, covering more than 80 miles, but never reached the coast. They died one by one in different places, leaving behind their bodies and their stories. The last one to die was Ripslinger, who had walked the farthest and had reached a rocky hill where he collapsed and died. He was only 23 years old. For 15 years, Lady Be Good and her crew remained missing, presumed to have crashed into the sea. But in 1958, a team of British geologists working for Darcy Oil Company spotted the wreck of the plane from the air, about 440 miles inland from the coast. They reported their discovery to the US Air Force, which sent a team to investigate. They found the plane remarkably intact and well preserved, with most of its equipment still functional. They also found a diary, a map, and a Bible belonging to the crew, which revealed some details of their ordeal. But where were the bodies? It took another year of searching to find the remains of 5 of the crew members, scattered along a 100-mile stretch of desert. They had tried to walk back to civilization, following their compass, but they had no water, no food, and no shelter. They succumbed to dehydration, exhaustion, and exposure, some after walking for more than 80 miles. The other 4 crew members were never found, despite extensive efforts. Their fate remains unknown to this day. The story of Lady Be Good and her crew is a fascinating and tragic one that touches upon the cultural, historical, and emotional dimensions of war and survival. It is a story of courage, endurance, and hope, as well as of human error, bad luck, and despair. It is a story that has captivated the imagination of many and inspired books, documentaries, and even a musical. It is a story that still holds many secrets and mysteries waiting to be solved.